welcome to you on the news at 7 on NT International, reaching you live from Abuja. I am Ruth Aguilera. Let's take the headlines. President Muhammadu Buhari assents to amended Deep Offshore Act, signaling new horizon in the country's oil industry. Federal government reaffirms its commitment to collaborate with investors to boost the country's ease of doing business. And Senate screens two heads of courts, advocates adequate funding for the judiciary. And we'll begin on a positive note. President Muhammadu Buhari today in London signed the amended Deep Offshore Act recently passed by the National Assembly. The amended act is expected to generate at least $500 million additional revenue for the federal government. While signing the amended act, President Buhari was quoted by the senior special assistant to the president on media and publicity, Garba Shehu, as saying, "Today is an important day for all Nigerians, particularly the young generation." He said Nigeria will now receive its fair, rightful and equitable share of income from her own natural resources for the first time since 2003, when oil prices began a steep increase to double and at times triple over the following decade. President Buhari noted that all this time, Nigeria has failed to secure its equitable share of the proceeds of oil production, as all attempts to amend the law on the distribution of income had failed. Now, despite rapid reductions in the cost of exploration, extraction and maintenance of oil fields within the last 25 years and the increase in prices, a combination of complicity by Nigerian politicians and feet dragging by oil companies has for more than a quarter century conspired to keep taxes to the barest minimum, above $20 per barrel. Now, even as the price is some 3 times the value. He, however, expressed happiness that for the first time under the amended law, 200 million Nigerians will start to receive a fair return on the surfeit of resources of the land. Back home as Nigeria-Canada Investment Summit 2019 opens in Abuja with the theme Reaching for Greater Heights. Vice President Professor Yemi Osinbajo says the federal government is determined to work collaboratively with investors to create the best possible environment for business in the sector to thrive. State House correspondent Jide Onifade reports.
This is the second Nigeria-Canada Investment Summit, the first being in 2018. And as Vice President Yemi Osinbajo mentioned in the 2018 edition, the summits are an important process in deepening the socio-economic ties between Nigeria and Canada. Both governments and business communities realize that there is enormous potential in the relationship, the Vice President observes. This 2019 edition of the summit will be focusing on agriculture, education, energy, healthcare, housing and mining. These are some of the areas Vice President Osinbajo says the country has identified as crucial to the success of the nation's economic recovery and growth plan.
The next few years promise to be exciting for industry, trade and commerce in Nigeria, especially with the coming into force of the African Continental Free Trade Area agreements. Nigeria remains the most logical destination for reaping maximum benefit from these agreements. Consequently, we've devoted considerable attention to improving the Nigerian business environment, and we have, by all accounts, recorded notable success. We are determined not just to ensure that we keep to the plans that we put in place, but we encourage all of our partners to work with us.
Bilateral trade is said to be in the order of $984 million.
Canada has committed to investing $1.1 billion to help Canadian businesses access new markets with the objective of increasing Canada's international exports by 50% by the year 2025. It is my hope that this new policy, combined with increasingly adventurous Canadian companies like we see here today, will mean more trade and investment with Nigeria.
Nigeria and Canada are in discussions to modernize the existing BIT following the review of the model BITs for both countries.
Over the past 3 years, considerable efforts have been put towards building Nigeria into a destination of choice for foreign direct investment.
For an investor to come and invest in a country, there must be that enabling environment for him to invest. And already the government have created that enabling environment.
We had a vision that the vehicle we are creating will be the bridge that will officially and permanently connect trade, investment, and by extension, cultural opportunities between Nigeria and Canada.
Recent Canadian investors' engagements in Nigeria will be highlighted, and other discussions in the next 2 days are expected to be beneficial to both countries. In Abuja, Chite Onifade, NT News.
And talking legislature now, the payment of severance allowance to legislative aides of the 8th National Assembly who served between 2015 and 2019 has been a contentious issue. Now, in a bid to resolve the matter, the National Assembly leadership and management has met with the Minister of Finance. National Assembly correspondent Ignatius Onkwo reports.
It's been a period of legislative and executive meetings at the National Assembly. The Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning, Zainab Ahmed, has been one of the regular visitors to the legislative arm of government in the last 2 months. The latest visit by the Minister, the Director General of the Budget Office and the management of the Revenue Mobilization, Allocation and Fiscal Commission was to meet with the leadership and management of the National Assembly on how to pay former legislative aides their severance allowance. Leadership of the National Assembly and the management of the National Assembly, led by Clerk to the National Assembly, Sani Omolori, are bothered and committed to addressing the problem.
And we are talking about the aides of 2015 to 2019 who have completed their work. It is only fair that we do that, give them what is due to them. So we realized there was need to bring on board for this discussion the Ministry of Finance, the National Assembly Service Commission as well.
The meeting eventually went into a closed door. From the National Assembly, Ignatius Onkwo, NTA News.
And still on legislative affairs, the Senate Committee on Judiciary, Human Rights and Legal Matters has advocated improved funding for the judiciary. Now, this is to ensure the independence of that arm of government. Chairman of the committee, Okpeyemi Bamidele, made the appeal during the screening of judicial officers for confirmation as Chief Judge of the Federal High Court and President, National Industrial Court. National Assembly correspondent Vivian Idekbefo has details.
Justices John Soho and Benedict Nanyip are nominees by President Muhammadu Buhari to fill the offices of the Chief Judge of the Federal High Court and President National Industrial Court. The Chairman Senate Committee on Judiciary, Okpeyemi Bamidele, stressed that the 9th Assembly is committed to the ideals of harmony among the arms of government. He harped on the need to improve on the welfare of the judiciary, adding that Nigeria cannot afford to be relegated by the international community.
We once again emphasize on the need for collaboration on what has become a collective vision. The vision of our committee, the vision of the 9th Senate, and no doubt the vision of Nigerians who are convinced that no democracy can grow or can survive with a compromised judiciary.
The committee also urged judicial officers to evolve reforms that will rebrand the country's judiciary. In another development, the Senate Committee on Finance shifted its meeting with the Central Bank of Nigeria to enable the CBN Governor, Godwin Emefiele, to appear in person. From the National Assembly, Vivian Idekbefo, NTA News.
And on promoting made in Nigerian goods, the Federal Ministry of Trade and Investment, in collaboration with World Bank, has developed a new national quality policy towards addressing rejection of made in Nigerian produce and products abroad. Musa Baba Ali reports that the document has been validated by relevant key players and will be transmitted to the Federal Executive Council for consideration.
Is it fake or original? Has been the question most Nigerians ask when buying not only made in Nigeria products, but also what was tagged foreign. The development is due to high cases of proliferation and influx of substandard goods in the markets. Key players in the manufacturing and marketing discovered that the current policy guiding quality of products is outdated and need to be reviewed.
We are asking that the Department of Weight and Measure become an agency to be able to carry the responsibilities they have for the economy. So some of these things are already existing, but we want to fine-tune it to fit into the international structure.
This brought about the convergence of agencies under the supervision of Standard Organizations of Nigeria, with the mandate of advocating for the amendment of existing laws relating to maintenance of quality and standards of goods and services.
Once the new policy is resubmitted to Federal Executive Council, it will scale through, and Nigeria could have a national quality policy, which is very important for our trade and even for our national development.
Though it took the group 6 years to develop the document, but officials of the Ministry of Trade and Investment are optimistic it will only take a few weeks for it to be transmitted to the Federal Executive Council. In Abuja, Musa Baba Aliyu, NTA News.
In other news, some federal government organizations, civil societies and professional groups in Nigeria are collaborating to curtail the challenges of modern-day slavery, the issues which they say are undermining social development. This is the thrust of the 10th Annual Conference of the Institute of Social Work in Nigeria, on the way in Abuja. Austin Ayembe will tell us more.
He was a graduate and no employment, and out of frustration went to abroad looking for a job, and I think he didn't take the right route to the UK, deported back to Nigeria.
Comfort L narrating how her cousin, who sought greener pasture in Europe, ended up being deported. This is a story many Nigerians in similar adventure who survived the horror and pain have to tell. Others are in similar captivity, not only in abroad, but within Nigeria, suffering in silence.
The statistics are terrible. There are agencies telling people they have jobs abroad. And you, like anybody looking for a good life, you apply. And they say we have jobs in Oman. They mention all these countries of interest, only for you to arrive there. And it's not what you were told.
Modern-day slavery before now used to be what we all know as slavery, but it has over time evolved into a daredevil monster, which now encapsulates issues such as human trafficking, child trafficking, sex trafficking, domestic servitude, forced labor, and a whole lot.
These are some of the concerns of professional social workers, government agencies and civil societies who believe that with strong legislations, the issues surrounding modern-day slavery can be addressed.
The Council operates what is popularly called OSCAR. It is a one-stop shop for victims.
The agency had rehabilitated and reintegrated a lot of traffic victims in one form or the other.
With the introduction of the non-custodial aspect as enunciated in the new act, the Nigerian Correctional Act of 2019, we have been empowered. Our coast has been expanded on our operations.
President having thoughtfully created that ministry, we believe the ministry will be able to re-energize and have a focused direction in the issues that has to do with social work precisely.
The conference is expected to come up with resolutions that will be presented to the National Assembly for legislative actions. In Abuja, Austin Ayembe, NTA News.
All right, let's take a break now. News continues shortly, so stay with us.
Today or 4 days when my girls won't come visit me, I need to come go expire.
Oh, my guys, they can't follow me watch this match. I must not fold the hand.
Babe, what's happening now? Sorry to disappoint you, but my subscription don't expire.
The match is not on my GoTV package.
Now your holla be that. I beg, give me your phone. Make I show you how you go take do it for my GoTV app for your phone.
Life is so much easier with my GoTV app. Make payments, clear error messages, change your package. You can also check your due dates and keep abreast of your payment history. The new My Go TV app is everything you need in one place. So what are you waiting for? Download My Go TV app now from Google Play or App Store to enjoy the easy life. Go TV. Live it, love it.
NTA International News. Africa as it is.
Thanks for staying tuned. National Chairman of the All Progressives Congress, Adams Oshomole, has condemned the attack on him and some guests at the convocation ceremony of the Edo University IAMO. The APC chairman regretted that such a gathering of intellectuals and academia was hijacked by some political thugs, thereby causing serious embarrassment to the state.
My purpose is simply to again apologize to all those who were embarrassed, but just to suggest to the governor that, as I told him in a text message, we do not need to import thugs. We do not need thugs. He has to prevail on his deputy, who seems to have a higher propensity for violence, to change his ways. This I have already sent to him. Because what will you gain on a convocation day to import thugs to a university environment? Even if INEC has already blown whistle for election, which is not the case in Edo, you don't want to go to a university premises to organize a rally. So why import thugs to a convocation ceremony? It's unheard of.
Was earlier sent to the Inspector General of Police, Mohammed Adamu, and as such, expect that the law enforcement agents will investigate the matter and bring those responsible to book.
I know that most fair-minded Nigerians will not judge me by the attitude of those who have chosen to resort to tactics that cannot be helpful to anyone. I remain convinced that the way to go is to have an all-inclusive party. So the relation of yesterday shows that, if we don't manage this process, it can get out of hand. Why will anybody import thugs to a convocation? So I don't want to deviate out of the issues, but just to say that I have made every effort I can to reconcile the governor with leaders of the party in the state. Not me. Not me.
While apologizing to the concerned dignitaries, the APC chairman cautions desperate politicians to tread carefully and always put the love of the state above their personal interest. And talking flooding now, more flooding is expected downstream of Kogi State, such as Edo, Delta, Anambra, Rivers and Bayelsa states. To this effect, the Nigerian Hydrological Services Agency is advising governments of the affected states to put communities on the bank of the River Niger on red alert and commence efforts to mitigate the impact of the flooding. Onengie Fineface reports.
Information released by the Nigeria Hydrological Services Agency, NERSA, indicates that the flood level as at 4th November 2019 in River Benue is 11.28 meters, which is much higher than that of 2012, which was 9.01 meters. The flood level downstream the confluence of rivers Niger and Benue is also higher in 2019 at 10.97 meters than it was in 2012 at 8.04 meters. Latest prediction released by NERSA shows that Nigeria's position downstream of 8 other countries on the Niger Basin, release of excess water from dams, especially the Lagdo Dam in Cameroon, and continued rainfall beyond the expected dates of cessation are factors responsible for the current flood incidents in several parts of the country.
The excess water released from Lagdo Dam that has arrived in part of Nigeria will be moving down to the states, communities, downstream Lokoja as a town. In other words, Edo State, especially again the border axis, Anambra State, passing through Onitsha, Idemili is there, Delta State, Rivers, and then Bayelsa. The flood that occurred in Adamawa State will eventually get to them.
NERSA is also advising residents and governments in the state and local governments to commence immediate desilting of drains and clearance of water channels to allow for free flow of flood water into the Atlantic. In Abuja, Onengie Fineface, NTA News.
All right, now for stories trending on the financial sector, let's join Musa Baba Aliyu.
There are indications that the partial closure of Nigeria's land borders is making small-scale businesses to thrive in the country. A recent survey indicates that local poultry and rice industries earned more than 50 billion naira since the closure of the land borders. This is coming as local industrialists and marketers have continued to commend the steps taken by the federal government on the border closure.
The West African countries are supposed only to bring in goods that are made in West Africa, not goods that are made in China, all this rice that they are bringing from India and so on. They are not supposed to do that. And you know, that is what they are doing.
In the meantime, the Nigeria stock market begins the week on a positive note this Monday. The market closed its activities with a gain of 0.43%. Musa Baba Aliyu, Business News.
And from business, we move to stories trending in the globe. Let's join Ado Adamu also for details.
Pirates have kidnapped 9 crew members from a Norwegian shipping vessel off the coast of Benin in West Africa. The vessel was carrying gypsum, a mineral used as fertilizer, and was at anchor, owner J.J. Auckland said. Some 63 seafarers have been captured off the coast of Nigeria, Guinea, Togo, Benin and Cameroon this year. The Norwegian flag MV Motiva's remaining crew notified the local authorities after the attack early on Saturday, and the vessel docked in Cotonou, the largest city in Benin. In another development, security forces in Iraq opened fire on protesters in Baghdad, killing and wounding several people. Reports said at least 5 people were killed in the clashes on Monday. However, security and medical sources put the toll at 1 dead and 22 wounded, adding that rubber bullet and tear gas, not live ammunition, were used. Iraqi protesters blocked roads, shutting offices and schools. Clashes erupted on Baghdad Bridge with several anti-government protesters wounded by security forces. And U.S. President Donald Trump has threatened court federal funding for the wildfires sweeping California. Nearly 100,000 acres have been destroyed by wildfires in recent weeks, and thousands have been forced from their homes. Mr. Trump, in a Twitter spat, blamed Governor Gavin Newsom, a Democrat, saying he had done a terrible job of forest management, a similar threat to cut federal aid in 2018 when the most deadly fire in California's history killed 86 people. And that is this on this segment. Thank you for your time. I am Ado Ademwalso.
And talking sports now, Rivers Angels celebrate their emergence as champions of the 2018-2019 Nigerian